Helen Hunter. The camera, Helen Hunter.
Thank you, Mr. Contest Chair, and welcome guests. Picture this. As the overnight train from Nairobi to Mombasa pulled slowly into the station, the platform was lined with African porters. "I'll be your driver," said one enthusiastic man, grabbing our bags and walking us out of the station. "I have a pale blue Pinto." We were in luck. Our porter had a car. So the whole week we were going to be in Mombasa, we were set. Every day, Peter drove us around wherever we wanted to go and cheerfully told us all about life in East Africa. But I noticed every afternoon, as it was getting time to end the day where he would get paid, he started to gripe and moan and complain. His health, the cost of raising 5 children, his wife was sick. He was hoping his tip would go up. Finally, one day I'd had enough. I said, "Peter, you're a really great guy, and you give us great tours. But have you heard of the power of positive speaking?" He said, "No, what is that?" I said, "Well, if you speak positively about your life and your future, things will go well. But if you gripe and complain and keep telling us about your problems, your wife, your kids, your ailments, things are just going to get worse." We talked for a while, gave him a few examples, and finally he said, "I got it. I'm going to put it to the test today." A few hours later, we were driving around and we saw a native village. So my husband and I said we'd get out, take pictures. We had nice expensive cameras, and Peter said he would follow along slowly in his pale blue Pinto. Well, we're walking along, saying hi to people, petting the dogs and saying hi to the babies. And then, all of a sudden, I feel a shadow come up behind me. A tall Maasai warrior shoves me into my shoulder, grabs my camera. We struggle for a minute. He rips it out of my hand and disappears down the alley. "Let me run! Let me run!" I started yelling. My husband came running up. He said, "Where?" I said, "Down there." He said, "I'll go." I said, "Wait a minute, give me your camera first." He came back, no luck. By this time, Peter had climbed out of his car and came running, and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, madam. If I had just been a little closer, this would have never happened." And then he said, "Oh, but wait a minute. I'm going to be positive. We will get your camera back today." I thought, oh no. There's no way. It's probably already on the black market. This is not a good day to test out my positive speaking. Peter ran around in the village, talked to the people, and he came back and he said, "I think I know who did it. Let's go to the police station." So we got back in the Pinto, drove to the police station, told the sergeant at the desk what our problem was, and he took us back to the big chief with the red velour chairs, where we repeated our tale of woe. "We will get your camera back today," said the chief. He called 2 of his sergeants. They came running, stood at attention. "Go to the village and apprehend the thief," he said. The 2 men ran off. They came back with burlap sacks ready, and the chief said, "Go," and they said, "We have no transportation." "That's okay," said Peter. "I've got my pale blue Pinto." So I'm in the front with Peter. My husband pulls in the back. The 2 soldiers get in with their burlap sacks. We go back to the village. They climb out, remove the sacks to show World War II machine guns. With that, they disappear down the alley, and a few minutes later, come back with a screaming, kicking mother! They shove her in the back of the car. They get in the back, so there's Peter and me, my husband Paul, the 2 soldiers, the 2 policemen, and the screaming, kicking, cussing mother. We go all the way back to the police station and repeat the story, and the chief said, "We will hold her hostage till the camera is found." A few minutes later, there's a scurry in the parking lot. In comes the good son, the banker. "Why are you holding my mother hostage?" "We need the camera back," says the police chief. "Well, let us go back to the village and find it. Find the thief." My brother. Oops. The chief says, "Go." And the banker says, "But we have no transportation." "I can take you," said Peter. So we have Myself and Peter in the front, my husband in the back, the banker and the screaming mother who's now calmed down, heading back to the village. We dropped them off, and I said, you know what, Peter, I'm really tired and hungry. Why don't you take us to a nice restaurant, and then you go back at 1 o'clock and see if they found the camera. Well, would you believe it? At 1:45, Peter rolls up with a big grin on his face. He says, the chief has the camera on his desk. He just wants you to identify it. So we drive back to the station, back to the big chief's office with the big red velour chair, and there on his desk, my camera. The chief is satisfied and proud, and I say, why don't we all take a group picture? So we go out into the yard and we all stand, the big chief, the 2 policemen, the banker, the mother, Paul, myself, and of course Peter. Then we all shake hands and say goodbye, and the banker and the mother say, but we have no transportation to go back to the village. So, one final run, Peter and me in the front seat, my husband Paul in the back, the banker and the mother. We drop them off at the village, and then Peter says, your camera has taught me a lesson today. The power of positive speaking. My life will never be the same.